Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marisa Kazem, and today I'm going to be showing you my July setup in my bullet journal. So for July, I decided to do a Moana theme. If you're new to my channel, basically every month of this year, I'm doing an official Disney princess as my theme because there are 12 official Disney princesses, and this month I chose Moana. So again, I'm so sorry that this video is so late. My previous video of setting up this journal took me hours and hours to do, and this one, it did also take me hours, but somehow I did it so quickly. I actually watched Moana on the 29th, and then on the 30th I started filming, and I finished filming like mid-afternoon on the 2nd, and it's just taken me ages to edit because there was so much painting in this setup. This is definitely one of my more heavy painting setups, which you would think I wouldn't do given that my video was already late for the month, but I don't know, I had a lot I wanted to paint for Moana, so that's what I did. So for this cover page, I decided to paint Te Fiti, and I just had to paint her because I really wanted to paint her at some point in this setup, but I really wanted to paint her a little bit bigger and let her have her moment, and so I thought the cover would be perfect, and I love it. She literally looks like she's welcoming July to my journal, and it was just so fun to paint. I was terrified to paint her at first because, one, she's a person, painting people are always scarier, but she's also a mountain. I mean, I know she's a mountain, but she's like covered in leaves like a tree, and I was terrified to paint her hair, her body, like how to get everything right, but I'm actually really surprised by how it came out, and it came out looking exactly how I visioned it in my head, and I think she looks beautiful, so that was really fun, and I'm so glad that she didn't look weird when I tried to shade her in green. Also, you're going to see me paint water 3 times in this setup. This is the first one, and then there's another page where the entire thing has water on it, and then one of the weeklies has water, and they all look completely different, and it's literally because I have no idea how to paint water, and I was so afraid of messing it up. So the water that's here on this page is basically trying to represent when Moana had just put the heart back in her chest and she like stands up and the water's kind of like waving around her, and I mimicked the shape of the water based on how it looked in the film, and realistically there should be another strip of water behind her so it looks like she's in that tunnel of water, kind of like how the sea was parted, but I didn't want to paint even more water, and so I just kind of left it with this. Also, so what I'm doing right now is I went over the little space with gouache white paint because, again, like in the film, the water is splashing and there's like a lot of foam everywhere, so I wanted to make it look more mystical, like she's rising out of the water, and I think the effect worked really well. Also, so the quote that I chose for the quote page is actually part of the lyrics that Grandma Tala sings in the song I Am Moana, which happens later in the film when Moana is left on her own on her boat. And the quote that I chose says, "The people you love will change you, the things you have learned will guide you, and nothing on earth can silence the quiet voice still inside you." And I just love Grandma Tala. Like, she is one of the most amazing parental figures that I think Disney has ever shown. She really is like a guider for Moana, and she clearly inspires her and believes in her. And we don't see exactly that from a lot of Disney parents. A lot of Disney parents are very vague. We don't get to see much. But Grandma Tala, I know she's a grandmother, but she's still absolutely amazing, and I wanted the quote to be from her. Anyway, so this next spread is my calendar and planning page. Normally in my journal, I've been having like goal setting on this page instead of planning, but I'm really sick of goal setting lately, and I don't think it necessarily helps me achieve my goal. It just kind of like, I write it down and then I ignore it. So I thought maybe I would do a planning for each week of the month and just focus on getting what I need done that week, and I think that'll help me reach my goals a lot faster. But the painting on this page, I basically wanted to paint Moana's island Motunui, but I wanted it to look like you were on the island and not looking at it from a distance. For most of the film, whenever we see her island, we're on it. We're not at a distance. There's only a few times where we see it at a distance, and I didn't see the point in painting that, especially because I felt like it would look very similar to Te Fiti but without a face, and I didn't want to do that. So the first thing I wanted to paint was the pile of stones that her ancestors had left behind, which is the highest point of the mountain, and then also the seashell that she puts on top. And then in the film, there's a shot when Moana was running down the mountain, and we see these palm trees, and then we see the rest of the village and the shoreline all in one shot, and I just thought it looked so beautiful, but I wanted to do it slightly different just to kind of fit the page better and just make the art composition look better. But that's basically what I tried to do. I painted the little village with some little huts. They're very quickly painted. I spent more time on the trees and the mountains themselves, but I love this page. It turned out exactly how I wanted. Like, I would honestly say all of the paintings in this setup were exactly what I wanted them to be. Like, I was so afraid and nervous while painting, but I was really able to create the vibe I wanted, and I just love this page so much. Also, so if you're not new to my channel, you'll know that I really struggle when it comes to painting nature. Every time a princess theme has required some nature, I tend to not do the best at it, or I struggle with trying to make it look more realistic. But I think I conquered that in this setup. And like, I'm really proud of myself, and I don't know where it came from, but it just looks so good to me. I know it's still very cartoony, but I don't mind. It actually still looks like nature and palm trees and mountains, and I don't know how I just suddenly made it work, but I did, and I think it's working great for me. Also, if you guys noticed, I did not outline Te Fiti or the calendar page nature at all. The only thing I outlined was Te Fiti's eyes because I wanted them to pop out properly, but I decided not to outline anything that was a nature painting, and I find that that works so much better. I always felt like I need to outline my drawing and then color it in with the watercolor, but realistically you don't need to do that, especially if you're trying to create leaves and texture. Outlining it doesn't always make sense, and I find that that really worked for this setup. So this spread is my mood tracker and positivity log, and I decided to paint Moana's boat that was gifted to her by Te Fiti at the end of the movie, and it was covered in these beautiful pink and purple and orange flowers, and I think it's gonna look gorgeous when I'm done with the month. Hopefully there's more red than there is orange, but I still think it's gonna look really cute and really pretty. I did something similar to this for Ariel's theme. For Ariel, I painted the rock that she sits on, and then I drew a bunch of flowers on it, and then I colored in the flowers at the end of the month, and it was one of my favorite mood trackers I've done this year, so I really wanted to do that for Moana's as well. Also, if you guys are liking this video, please make sure to subscribe. I have more princess themes coming all the way till the end of the year, and they're just so fun to do, and I love hearing your feedback on them. So if you're new here, definitely subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of my videos. Also, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, if you're new to this channel, basically what I'm doing is I am transferring the images that I printed online to my journal with transfer paper. At the beginning of the year, I was sketching every drawing by hand, and I did really enjoy that. However, just lately, I just haven't had the time for that. Like I said, I literally started this setup on the 29th/the 30th, and I just didn't have time to sketch everything, and so I've just been transferring things. I don't consider it a way of cheating because when you transfer, you could definitely transfer the wrong thing and it'll look awful, so you gotta be careful with what you're transferring. But I kind of do this mainly just to get the overall shape that I want, and then that way I can fill in the details with some pencil sketch if I need to. But figuring out proportions, I think, is what takes the longest about sketching, and when it comes to my journal with how small it is, I don't want to spend ages on proportions. I just print it out at the size I want and then outline it, and then I can work from there. Anyway, so this spread is my habit tracker and weight tracker, and I decided to paint Grandma Tala with the stingrays, and I just love this scene when she walks into the sea and she's like touching the water on her arms and dancing, and she says, "When I die, I'm going to come back as one of these." And I just thought it was so beautiful. And again, like I said, she's such an amazing character to me. I really loved her, and I wanted a spread that was more dedicated to her. And I thought there was nothing better than this with the stingrays. However, again, this is a setup where I painted water, and I really struggled with it. I practiced on some other bullet journal paper to try and make the water look realistic, and I just couldn't do it. I really couldn't figure it out. It looked like such a mess. So I decided to paint these very graphic style waves, and then over the stingrays, if you noticed, I continued the waves on top of them, but in like a darker gray to try and make it look like they were under the water. And I really like how it turned out. It's very different to anything I've ever done. And like I said, it's not realistic water at all. It is literally a graphic style of art. But I really liked it. I think it turned out well. And it definitely created the vibe I wanted out of this scene. So let me know what you guys think of that style of water, because all three styles of water I did in this setup look completely different, and this is the most simple one. Also this month, I decided to be more creative with my headings, and the reason I did was basically because I just wanted more blue on these spreads. I don't know why, I just wanted more blue, and I kind of did this ombre thing with the Tombow dual brush pen, and then I created a shadow behind it with my regular Pigma microns. And I like how it looks, but it's definitely time consuming, because normally I just use one black pen, write the title on each page, and I'm done. But going over it several times in a blue pen to create the ombre look and then doing a shadow definitely added more time, which I did not need. So don't know if I'm going to do it every month, but I really loved it for this setup, and it gave more blue to the pages, which is what I wanted. So if you're not new to my channel, you'll know that for my brain dump pages, I love to paint the Disney castle associated with each princess, but obviously Moana doesn't have a castle. So I decided to paint this building hut that we see in a ceremony twice. When she's a kid in that song that her dad is singing, she's walking from one hut to the other with the crown on her head, but then she leaves and goes to join her grandma by the sea. And then when she's older, she does it again, but this time she actually completes the little ceremony. And I wish we knew what this ceremony was, because why would she do it twice when she's a kid and when she's older? Unless it's just a simple, I'm walking and, you know, we're the family in charge and you're all supposed to respect us. I have no idea what the ceremony is, but this seems to be the most grand and important building on the island, so that's why I decided to paint this one. I was almost going to paint Motunui from a distance on this setup. Like, I was about to print off the picture and do it, and then I was like, no, I want to paint one of the huts, because we never see them too much in the film. It's kind of, we see them just at the beginning, and I thought I should paint it because they are important. She doesn't actually live in a patch of grass, she lives in these huts, and so does everyone else, and I thought I should paint one, and I really liked how it looked, and it also gave me a chance to paint more palm trees, which was really fun as well. So this spread is my productivity log, and basically throughout the month I just highlight what I'm doing on different hours of the day. I like to keep track of my sleep, my exercise, when I'm being productive, and my health habits. And I find that this really helps because sometimes I'll feel like I'm not really having a productive day, and then I realize I had so many chores to do, which I've highlighted, and then it makes me feel better because I'm still doing stuff. It's just, you know, the hours in the day seem to disappear. So I really like having this spread. But on this spread, I decided to paint Boa and Heihei. They are so funny to me, and especially Heihei. I had to paint the one where he was screaming when he realized he was on a boat, because to me it was just hilarious, and I thought it turned out really well. I know that for these setups, I have said that I don't want to paint characters and I want to focus on the elements of the film, but in a few of my spreads, I have sometimes painted the sidekick, and I just had to for this one because they make me laugh so much. Honestly, when Moana is like in front of Poa and she eats a piece of pork and she goes, that's good pork, I died inside. Like, I could not believe that Poa just witnessed that, and I thought it was funny. And then I also thought Heihei was hilarious. He is one of my favorite sidekicks because he's not useless. He did end up helping, and he survived the entire journey, which I just thought was hilarious. But yeah, anyway, so now we're on to my first weekly, and as you can see, it is very different to the weeklies that I have been doing. For the last 6 or 7 months, actually 8 months, for the last 8 months, I have been doing this Dutch door style of weekly, which you can see in my previous videos, but I decided to give it a break, mainly because making Dutch doors and taping them in is time consuming. I don't want to cut them anymore because it ends up using up a lot of pages, so I tape them in, but it's time consuming, and I've noticed that I don't use the entire box all the way. Most of the time, there are still some lines left that are blank, and I just thought, what if I try and make a weekly spread that still feels roomy enough for me, but actually fits everything? And so that's what I did. I made the boxes a little bit smaller. I still have room to write a quote every week. I still have room for my meal planning and my task list. I just basically got rid of the calendar that I used to put in there because I honestly didn't use it. I kind of wrote it there for aesthetic purposes because it was cute, but I didn't use it, and I don't need to write more calendars every month for no reason. So I decided to do it like this, and yeah, I really like it. And so this is the other water painting that I did this month, and I loved it. This turned out so much more realistic. I really wanted to paint that scene when Moana is chosen by the ocean, and this just turned out a lot better than I thought. I feel like at a distance it does look quite like a real wave, and I was really proud of it. And this one, I didn't practice on paper beforehand. I don't know why, I just felt so brave to go ahead with it and start painting what I saw in the picture. But for the other depiction of the water with Grandma Tala, I just couldn't do it. I was so afraid. So I'm still learning watercolor. If you're new to my channel, I've only been using watercolor since January, and I'm definitely learning, but I don't know, sometimes I feel brave to go ahead with something and sometimes I don't. And that one that I just did was one of them. I felt brave and I just started it, and I loved how it turned out. And I also used white gouache again for the white foamy part of the sea. Also, what I love about this weekly setup is that I am able to paint either a vertical or horizontal picture, just depending on where I put the quote. And for this week, I decided to paint Maui with a shark head. And I just couldn't resist. This scene is so funny to me. I crack up every time, and I just really wanted to paint him. I wanted to smile when I look in my journal, and this is one of those paintings that's going to do that for me. Also, if you've noticed, for the tattoo on his legs, I used a grey Pigma Micron because I really wanted the tattoo to stay in place while I was painting it, and then I go over it later with the green paint. And that's what I did for Grandma Tala's tattoo. And there is one more tattoo I do paint near the end of this setup, so that's what I did. But yeah, I really love this setup. I loved painting Maui. He's just so funny as a shark head, and I just couldn't resist. For these weeklies, I also decided to outline the boxes in blue and do blue headings, and that was mainly because I was getting kind of tired of the same plain black lines. Like, they were just kind of boring me, and I just, again, wanted more blue on the pages, so that's why I did that. Again, not sure if I'm going to do it in every month, but I liked it for this month. And so this painting is a painting of Kakamora when they are ready to attack. This is right when Moana says they look kind of cute, and then they get out their daggers and draw eyebrows on themselves. And I thought it was really funny, but I did not realize how long this painting was going to take. This painting was not difficult. I was kind of treating it like a painting done in Tombow brush pens, but for some reason it just took so long because of all the different colors I had to switch to. Like, I think this took me like 1.5 or 2 hours because switching colors constantly takes up a lot of time. But I really liked it and I love how it turned out. I did not paint anything in this setup related to Tamatoa, the singing crab from Lalotai, and that is just because I really don't like him. I think the movie would have been perfectly fine without him. Like, maybe they could have gotten Maui's hook in another way. That crab was just disturbing and freaky, and he was ugly. Like, I don't want to look at him, so I didn't want to paint him in this setup, so that's why he's not here. I do like to reference as many scenes as possible in these setups, but I just really didn't want to reference that scene with him because I just can't stand him. So for this last weekly, I really wanted to honor Moana's dad. If you are new to my channel, my dad passed away in February of 2021, and I've been like posting on my channel throughout all of this, and one thing I love doing is honoring a Disney dad when I can. And Moana's dad is literally, I think, the dad that we hear from the most. I feel like he has some of the most Disney lines, although I guess Princess Jasmine's dad has a lot of lines too. But I don't know, this dad just felt very present. We heard a lot from him, and he's a good dad. I know that he didn't support her in the beginning, but it was because he was afraid for her. Like, he didn't want her to die the way his best friend did. And I just thought he was an amazing Disney dad, and I wanted to honor him. And I didn't know how else to honor him but to paint this scene where she's guiding him at the end. I thought it was so beautiful that she came back, he fully supported her even though he was afraid, and she's teaching him how to sail. And I just loved it. I thought it was so sweet, and I don't know, I just really wanted to paint it. This is the first time I have actually painted the Disney princess's face in any of my setups. I did paint Ariel and her dad, but I kept them faceless because I kind of just wanted the moment to be about their bond. But with this one, I felt like they would look really weird without their faces. Like, they both just needed their faces for this, so that's why I decided to paint them anyway, and that's what I did. I will say, in this notebook therapy journal, I've been using Archer and Olive for the last 1.5 years, but notebook therapy is definitely different when it comes to painting skin. I don't know why. I don't know why it's more problematic for me, and I did notice this when I was setting up my beginning setup for this journal, because I did paint princesses there and the skin was more difficult for me, and I thought it was just me being nervous about starting a new journal. But after this setup, with the amount of painting I did, I've definitely noticed that the paper in notebook therapy journals respond a little bit differently to the watercolor, and the paper also sheds more. Like, literally the paper was peeling off anytime I put too much water, which is kind of concerning. But the notebook therapy paper doesn't wrinkle as much at all. My Archer and Olive journal is so wrinkly in comparison, and this setup that I did has so much heavy painting, and surprisingly my pages are barely wrinkled. So I don't really know, there's like pros and cons on each one. And I will say that with the notebook therapy journal, I can't do an ombre blend with colors as seamlessly as I can with Archer and Olive paper, which is kind of annoying. But I don't know, I'm using this journal for now and I do really like it, and it has more pages, so I am excited about that. But if you've ever wondered, I have noticed a difference already, and I'm only in the first month of this journal, so definitely consider that if you are planning on painting in these journals. So anyway, this last spread is my monthly check-in and review, and I just wanted to paint Maui's hook, Moana's necklace, and the heart of Te Fiti. So anyway, this is the final flip through. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are still here at this point in the video, leave a chicken emoji down below for hey hey. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I love this setup so much. It might be one of my favorite Disney princess setups I've done so far. Let me know down below which was your favorite and least favorite spread. I would love to know. And subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.